It was 4:15 in the morning. On November 8th, over the calm waters of the Florida Keys, that narrow boundary between the Atlantic Ocean and the Gulf of Mexico, the radar screens inside the U.S. Coastal Command Center began to flicker. Then, silence. For a few fleeting seconds, 4 tiny dots appeared and vanished faster than any aircraft could possibly move. The technicians assumed it was just sea clutter, but it wasn't. From the coastal base of Punta Cardone, 2 Venezuelan Su-30 Mk2 fighters roared into the sky. Each carried 2 KH-31, a missile's sleek metal bodies born from Cold War engineering. At a velocity of Mach 3.2, the Krypton, as NATO once called it, could cover 100 kilometers in less than 2 minutes. Flying just 15 meters above the sea surface, its radar cross-section was smaller than the tip of a pelican's wing. To ground radar, it was a phantom skimming over the waves. Inside the U.S. Navy monitoring station in Florida, one technician frowned as his screen blinked twice, then went dark. Across the entire Atlantic Command network, alerts began flashing possible hypersonic intrusion, heading south-southwest. No one expected Venezuela, a nation crippled by fuel shortages and sanctions, to challenge the maritime borders of the United States. Yet that was exactly what was happening, a test of deterrence, delivered through Russian-designed weapons. The intent remained unclear, a drill, a warning, or an act of desperation. In the first 10 minutes, the American command network oscillated between confusion and disbelief. Eglin Air Force Base immediately deployed reconnaissance drones, while the warship USS Fort Lauderdale shifted to combat readiness. On open communication channels, analysts debated whether the KH-31 launches were deliberate or the result of a misfired exercise. But deep inside the Pentagon's war room, a single voice captured the full gravity of the situation. If those missiles stay on course, they'll breach the United States exclusive economic zone in less than 12 minutes. And so, before a single shot had been fired, America faced a scenario no simulation had ever prepared for a small nation armed with near-hypersonic weapons and the audacity to aim them north. At that moment, the question was no longer what they were, but how far they were willing to go. At 9:27 that same morning, the order was transmitted from Norfolk: activate Zumwalt. Mission Protocol Omega Blue. From a training sector east of the Caribbean, the destroyer USS Zumwalt, DDG-1000, silently veered north, quiet and unseen. On satellite imagery, it appeared only as a faint shadow, its radar signature smaller than a fishing boat. To most sensors, it simply didn't exist. Zumwalt was not an ordinary destroyer. It was a statement of a new philosophy of warfare. 190 meters long, weighing 15,000 tons, with an inverted pyramid hull, it sliced through waves like a blade through glass. The ship's surface was coated with radar-absorbent material, and its integrated power system generated 78 megawatts, enough to supply electricity to a small city or to awaken the weapons of the future when needed. Inside the Combat Information Center, the air was calm yet strung tight like a wire. The AN, divided by SPY-3 multiband radar, began scanning in passive mode, listening rather than emitting. Every faint electromagnetic echo was parsed by the ship's onboard AI cluster, running on the Aegis Baseline 10 architecture designed to make decisions faster than human reflexes. On the wall display, 3 amber blips slowly sharpened into focus, fast, low, and erratic. The tactical officer leaned forward. Mach 3, sea skimming, bearing 246. The captain nodded slightly. We see them, they don't see us. Unlike older generations of destroyers, Zumwalt wasn't built to fire first, but to vanish, confuse, and dominate. Its doctrine was simple. Whoever controls the electromagnetic spectrum controls the battle. Outside, the sea looked serene, the horizon still and glassy. Yet beneath that calm, America's most advanced warship was already sinking to the rhythm of combat, a fight not of shells or torpedoes, but of code, frequency, and light. At a distance of 70 kilometers, Zumwalt's sensors caught the first thermal trace: 3 hypersonic warheads tearing through the thick Caribbean air, skimming just meters above the sea. Their ramjet engines burned white-hot, carving shockwaves that sliced across the surface like razors. Each missile flew at nearly 1 kilometer per second at that speed. A single error meant annihilation. 3 inbound objects. Confirmed KH-31A, the radar officer reported. The captain responded softly, "Activate ShadowNet." Instantly, Zumwalt's AN divided by SLQ-32 V7 electronic warfare suite came alive. Millions of microwave pulses burst outward, weaving false signals across the horizon. On Venezuelan missile screens, the ocean suddenly filled with 3 Zumwalts from 3 different bearings, each radiating the same radar signature. Their guidance computers hesitated, recalibrated, then veered off chasing phantoms. The warship launched ADM-160C decoys, miniature drones capable of broadcasting full-spectrum jamming. Within seconds, the KH-31A's navigation systems detected hundreds of targets, though only one real ship existed. Inside the combat center, a diagnostic window blinked green. Target confusion 87%. The captain exhaled slowly. Keep them chasing ghosts. But the Kryptons refused to die easily. Their seekers began hopping frequencies, searching for a fresh reflection. Each time they jumped to a new band, Zumwalt's algorithm leapt 50 frequencies ahead, predicting, countering, and adapting within milliseconds. "This duel isn't about speed," the tactical officer murmured. "It's a contest of minds." At 40 kilometers, one missile partially reacquired a lock, its signature flashing on the display. For a heartbeat, the entire room held its breath. Then Zumwalt's AI triggered the final layer of deception: cross-polarized jamming, projecting a mirror image of the ocean itself. To the missiles, sea and ship had become one, indistinguishable, inseparable. The KH-31s screamed forward, blinded by their own interference, chasing illusions born of their own systems. And in that unseen chaos, Zumwalt prepared to strike back, not with metal, but with energy. When the missiles were only 18 kilometers away, the USS Zumwalt systems shifted to attack mode. The ship's internal power grid was rerouted, 78 megawatts of pure energy channeled into a single emitter array beneath the stealth deck. "High-power microwave system ready," the weapons engineer reported. "Target lock in 3 seconds." The captain gave a quiet order. "Execute." An invisible surge of energy tore through the air faster than light, silent as death. It was not heat, nor shrapnel, but concentrated electromagnetic chaos. The beam struck the radar seeker of the lead KH-31A, overloading its entire circuitry. In less than 1 second, microchips melted, sensors warped, and the guidance processor collapsed into white noise. On the tactical screen, one red icon blinked, then vanished. The others followed. In 0.7 seconds, all 3 missiles lost orientation, tumbling like burning arrows stripped of their feathers. The Caribbean swallowed them 11 kilometers ahead of Zumwalt's bow. No explosion, no shockwave, only silence. Inside the combat center, no one cheered. They simply watched as the world's fastest anti-ship missiles dissolved into drifting fragments on a sea of blue. The Zumwalt's captain nodded, his face unreadable. "That's the objective. We don't fight to destroy, we fight to prevent." For the first time in naval history, an enemy attack was erased, not by cannons or interceptors, but by the union of energy and intelligence. Zumwalt sensors confirmed. No second launch, no radar locks, no threats returning. Outside, the sea was calm again. But beneath that calm, something profound had changed. The age of artillery was over. The age of electromagnetic warfare had just begun. Within hours, the Pentagon's Situation Room was flooded with a storm of silent data. Satellite imagery confirmed the missile impact sites. Thermal analysis proved the KH-31, as had self-destructed midair. No debris, no casualties, no escalation, only the digital trace of American precision. In a closed meeting, the U.S. Chief of Naval Operations stated succinctly, "The Zumwalt incident proves that modern deterrence is no longer about missiles, it's about mastery." Reports rippled swiftly across Allied capitals. In London and Tokyo, defense ministries called emergency sessions for classified briefings. The Royal Australian Navy proposed joint research on integrating the AI Ghostbat drone. aiming to adapt the same non-kinetic warfare doctrine. The event forced military academies worldwide to rewrite their textbooks overnight. Moscow remained silent, but its analysts understood the message clearly. An American destroyer had neutralized a Soviet-designed hypersonic weapon without firing a single round. In Beijing, state media offered no comment, but internal reports noted U.S. electromagnetic dominance confirmed. The Venezuelan government claimed the launch was merely a training exercise gone off course, a statement few believed. Yet Washington chose not to escalate. The White House issued no condemnation, no declaration of victory, only a single measured line from the State Department. The United States remains committed to safeguarding the stability and security of the Western Hemisphere. For the admirals in Norfolk, this was not merely a tactical success, but a philosophical one. Zumwalt had become a symbol of a new era of warfare, where information outweighed firepower, and silence carried the force of thunder. As twilight fell over the Atlantic, an analyst at the Naval War College wrote in his assessment, "When the enemy's fastest weapon becomes the slowest thought in your system, that means you've already won." And across the oceans, America's allies slept a little more peacefully, not because they feared less, but because they knew that somewhere, someone could stop a war without firing a single shot. Long after the event had faded from every radar log, the lesson of that quiet morning still echoed. The KH-31 and the Zumwalt were never truly enemies. They were symbols of two eras colliding, one born of brute force from the past, the other of precision and intellect from the future. For more than a century, naval warfare had meant fire, steel, and thunder. But November 8th changed that equation forever. No explosions, no casualties, no songs of heroism, only invisible energy, data, and absolute discipline. The United States did not prove that it could destroy faster, but that it could think faster. At naval academies and strategic research institutes, experts began to call this philosophy the doctrine of silence, the belief that power is not measured by destruction, but by control. Victory was no longer the end of battle, but the prevention of battle itself. Zumwalt's triumph was not one of domination, but of restraint. It proved that intelligence, both human and artificial, had become the ultimate weapon of the new age. In the calm after the storm, the ship's log captured everything in a single line. The war that never happened is the war we already won. And as the sun set over the waters of the Florida Keys, the ocean returned to its eternal stillness. But beneath those waves, a new form of deterrence was born, not written in fire or steel, but in frequency and light. If you believe that America's true strength lies not in its arsenal, but in its clarity and wisdom, share your thoughts below. Because the new front line of warfare is no longer about who fires first, but who can ensure the guns never fire at all.